Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to our back to school first 30 days roundtable brought to you by RaaWee Attendance Plus. My name is Sharon Bradley. I'll be serving as your moderator for today, and I'm telling you right now, you are in for a treat. As educators, we hear a lot of the things that may work, or in theory, this is what should work, but we have brought together some of our best district partners to share with you what they're doing, what is working, so you can be set up for a great first 30 days. I just remember serving 25 years as a special education teacher, a principal, a district administrator. This is a very busy time. So, first of all, I just want to thank you guys for taking the time to be here with us. Okay, so about RaaWee Attendance Plus, I got to share, guys, I'm really excited. Like I said, after spending 25 years in education, I've been very blessed to have the opportunity to work with such an amazing team. RaaWee Attendance Plus is the premier attendance intervention management platform. And you will hear from our partners and maybe from what you experience that we've been proven to help districts reduce chronic absenteeism, recoup funding, and regain instructional minutes. Thank you. As I was saying earlier, this is also the place. A lot of people know that our events, one of the highlights is the $50 Amazon gift card giveaway. Stay with us until the end of our session in order to qualify. All of your names will be on the wheel. And I used to love the giveaways, and I'm sure you guys do too. And you're going to hear from, as I said, panelists from Texas, Indiana, maybe even California, and they're doing amazing things and they're here to share with you. There's no gatekeeping here. We want you guys to have the information so you can make progress in your attendance goals, because that's how we are able to support students and families more effectively and more efficiently with less time. All right, this is the time that we've been waiting for. Our beautifully curated panel is here to share all the things. If something is inspired you, I want to ask the people, if you are on a cabinet level, like I said, and someone else is here, if it's, I always said I used to collaborate and work with our PEMS department. I was student services, so I consider myself as the heart, the interventions, the ones doing the home visits and so forth. And the PEMS department, they were the head, they were the data people, and together we made magic. So please, at this time, I would love to bring forth our panelists. I'm going to just introduce them one by one and allow them the opportunity to share their role, their district, and how long they've been a district partner, and then we'll get into the questions. So I will begin with Ms. Allison Woods, if you please.
Hi, I'm Allison Woods, Assistant Superintendent for the Metropolitan School District of Warren Township. We're here in Central Indiana in Indianapolis, and I think we're going into our fourth year with RaaWee. So 2 years.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Maria Padilla.
Hi, everybody. My name is Maria Padilla. I'm with Pasadena Independent School District in Houston/Pasadena, Texas. We've actually been with RaaWee for almost over 10 years. We started I think we were one of his first larger districts and caught on to something that was wonderful and have not given it up yet.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Shanah Tompkins.
Hi, good morning. I'm Shanah Tompkins. I'm in Student Support Services, and I'm in Lake Elsinore, California. And we're going on our 5th year with RaaWee.
All right. So the very first question I would like to ask is, what systems, what processes do you typically have in place before the kids even arrive, okay, to help ensure a strong attendance start for your school district? And anyone can jump in.
I'm happy to start.
All right.
So we have a comprehensive attendance plan for the district. So I spend the summer updating that. And a big part of that is things to do prior to school starting. I have in front of me. So that's why I'm looking down. Part of it is identifying students who were chronically absent the previous year. Those students get a letter from our director of student services. And when our assistant principals come back, they are pulling those students from the report, finding out who those students are. Our family engagement liaisons call all of those families to remind them when the first day of school is, see what barriers they have that need to be supported. We're starting this year with that chronically absent report that Salim went over. Anybody who's been chronically absent 2 or more years, some district social workers reached out to them over the summer. And then all of those students are put in some sort of an intervention group to start the year. So our ones that were chronically absent last year start the year and check in, check out with somebody that's part of our kind of PBIS system. Our 2 or more years have groups with either the counselor or the social worker. We share with parents how to take attendance, how to report absences. And then so we start school next week. I don't know where everybody is in this. Our teachers return on Monday, and part of the back to school expectations for principals are reviewing attendance expectations on taking it on time daily, welcoming students back when they're absent. Teachers are our first point of contact. So when a student has missed 3 days, the teachers call. So going over those expectations and just the importance of that. And then once students return a week from today, in the first few days, having town halls with students, part of that is about attendance. And then our 5th through 12th graders also make an individual attendance plan with their a teacher. So it may be that everybody is going to do this during first period, second period. And then we do some additional things with families and communication around back to school nights and things like that. So we put a lot of emphasis on as soon as people get back, we have to jump on board. And so that's what we do before the school year starts.
Yeah, I love that you said so much, but one of the things I really love the most is the fact that you say there's an expectation for the principals to be able to have some type of professional development or be able to explicitly express to their staff the attendance expectations. And I think that's very key because if the leadership does not explicitly say, hey, this is what we're going to focus on, this is how we're going to do education in this building, sometimes it falls by the wayside. So thank you for that. Anyone else would like to add anything?
I'll go ahead and share.
Okay.
I'm going to talk about one particular school. And we are, like I said, a larger district. We have about 65 campuses, but I do have one of the and I'm at the district level. So going down to the grassroots levels, I want to talk about one of our high schools in particular, Pasadena High School, that in preparation and getting this new school year started, what they typically work to do is before the end of the previous school year, they're already looking at their incoming 8th graders going to 9th grade and trying to focus on those students that perhaps were having attendance problems in the school year, and then working to communicate with those incoming 9th graders, because 9th grade is pretty a crucial year, especially getting them started on credits and things like that. And so they take the time to go ahead, and so I help them out by getting that information from the intermediate level and getting those names of kids to them so that they can start communicating with them and have a good idea of who needs some extra support.
That's pretty awesome because if you look at your data, most of your attendance issues take place during transition year. And a lot of times it's because the receiving school doesn't necessarily have the heads up, so to speak, from the transition school. So thank you. That's a great tip.
I did want to add, not only communicating just phone calls and messages and things like that, but they actually go out and knock on doors. They still do that way of thinking, so that they're making that personal connection with that student by going out and meeting them where they're at.
Yes, and I love that. And one of the great features of RaaWee is we have a home map tool where while you're out there, you put information there so you don't have, because what I used to do, I used to do the home visit, take notes while I'm out there, have to come into the office, put notes in there, and it took a lot of time and a lot of things got lost in translation. Yeah. All right. Anyone else would like to chime in?
I'll go ahead and go. With our district, we do an admin boot camp before school starts. So we focus, a portion of the day is on just reiterating home visits, and we go through the start process and just being proactive rather than reactive, and what that looks like, because we found that a lot of our admin are nervous to go to homes with their staff and don't know. So everything gets sent to district level, right? And
Yeah.
we're a very small team. So if with 25 different sites, so we're trying to, and we want that relationship to be at site level rather than just district level. So really just going through, we'll do different scenarios and true situations that we've had in the past and what the expectation is and what that looks like, obviously with our support always. And that seems to have been helpful in the past.
Yes. Capacity building on a whole nother level. All right. So that all of those things were wonderful. And like I said, and here's another thing, like I said, we're the panelists and everything here. If you have answers out there, those of you who are attending and you have some good strategy, put it in the chat so all of us can learn and know, because you guys are doing some wonderful things out there too. Our next question: what is an effective proactive family communication outreach strategy that you've implemented before attendance even becomes an issue? What are the things that you're doing? And Maria, if it's okay with you, would you share one first, and then Allison, and then Shanah?
Sure. So what I was thinking about in this particular question, we have a family engagement coordinator at the district level that supervises a group of parent coordinators that are assigned to the different campuses. And she and I work together a lot, reviewing data. She has access to RaaWee, and so that she can filter down the information to her parent coordinators to be able to, because they're required, it's a federal task that they have certain regulations and things that they have to meet. So they have to, and so taking some of that information and sharing it through those parent meetings that they're required to have and trying to get that information out, and what are things that parents can be doing at the campus level to make sure that attendance doesn't become an issue.
We have lots of a variety of ways we reach out early to students and families when we're seeing that they're missing school. I would say some proactive things that we do that are a little bit more tier one. In our newsletters that our principals send out all have attendance information in them. So attendance data for that building, different attendance challenges that are coming up at the school. That attendance calendar has been really a key tool for us in getting that out to families as well. And then we also have a board in every front office that has the previous day's attendance, how many students left early and how many students arrived late, as just we're noticing. It's right there when you walk in. So parents notice that we notice when kids are leaving early and coming late, and that we're watching attendance. So just trying to have attendance and that be part of every conversation and everywhere people look. So it's not just when they're having issues.
And we utilize Parent Square quite often for our communication and send out, every site will put out there. They typically have an attendance contract, if you will, just stating what that expectation is before school even starts. We have attendance banners at all of our elementary schools that has all of the numbers so that Ms. Woods had stated they can see what is actually happening at their school site, and that's updated throughout the year. We have academic and engagement specialists and community liaisons that will reach out before the school starts via telephone, which has been a big success. I do notice, though, that texting is much better than calling, because they typically will see the school phone number and sometimes not answers. So those that utilize a district phone typically are more, that's helpful rather than the phone call, and the emails that go out as well. But Parent Square is a huge benefit for us.
And we have contracts that are awesome, even here throughout the program with RaaWee. But when I was director of student services, one of the things that I asked all principals, because think about it, principals, teachers, we all send welcome letters or something like that and say, hey, I'm going to be your teacher, all those different things. Use that as an opportunity to talk about, when is the first day of school? We assume that families know. When is the start time? When is dismissal time? Articulate that it's important that all of our students come to school. we as district administrators and campus administrators, we know what the attendance goal is, but a lot of times we don't share that with the community. So if we are able to share that and say, hey, this is the goal and we need your partnership to help us reach this goal, I feel like that also that's some good proactive information. I also had someone to reach out, and it was in another one of our trainings, to say, hey, we have families that during certain times they're out and they go to other countries to be with their families or to take a break for months at a time. What do we do? I think those are the conversations and the things that you put in your newsletter or in whatever your usual communication, just school wide, for your parents. Put those little attendance tidbits in there each time, so the attendance conversation is not a conversation when it's an absentee issue. So thank you guys so very much. All right, that leads us to our next question. How do you use real-time data, okay, to intervene before students become chronically absent? How do you do that? And Allison, would you like to start us off?
Sure. We use RaaWee, so I think that is the best thing, that it tells us right away so we don't have a delay in identifying those students. We have two different attendance intervention plans. When we started, we look at all absences. I know from being on these calls that every state is different. We in our township decided to look at, if you're not at school, you're not at school. It doesn't matter if you're called in or not. So we really took that lens and have different intervention steps along the way that include phone calls, parent meetings, attendance plans, home visits, all sorts of different steps. And there's different people that do those. So they start out with the teacher making that first contact, and then maybe it's a family engagement liaison. We try not to have admin get into it too soon. Indiana then passed some legislation around unexcused absences. So we have a little bit of a different dashboard for that with requirements. We strategically, I know that people don't read the letter. We have the letters, but I don't think that the letters make a ton of impact. We did change the early letters to be at 5, 10, and 15 days. So we could say you are missing 1 week of school, you've missed 2 weeks of school, you missed 3 weeks of school, because that 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks kind of language wise felt a little bit different. And then we also have I'll talk about that at the next one. So really I would say it's mixing up what we're doing. We don't just do letters. We don't just do phone calls. It's, different modes of communication and different people doing it, trying to connect with families and identify what support they need so students can be at school.
Yeah, I think that's great. And the earlier you know, the earlier you can do something about it, for sure. Thank you. Maria?
I think with this real-time data, I think, and I had mentioned this to you before we even started this meeting, but I think part of it is just a training piece of mindset that in order to use your real-time data, you got to do it every day. And you got to look at it every day, and you got to make it a habit, and you got to stay faithful to that process of looking at it every day. When we started RaaWee over 10 years ago, our training was done by Salim one-to-one. And then to be able to disseminate that information out to our district, I did the training. And when I do the training to them, I tell them this is something that you have to do every day. And I always make I don't know what to call it, the comparison that when I do the training for the users, it's usually truancy is usually the last thing on the list of things that we're training them on. And I always tell them, don't make that the habit just because it's the last thing that we talked about. It's not the last thing that you do on a daily basis on your to-do list. You need to be doing it. It needs to be at the top of the list sometimes, so that you are constantly looking at it every day and not letting time build up, like Celine was saying just earlier, in the moment, taking care of that communication piece instead of waiting 2 or 3 days where it perhaps has lost its impact. So making those good habits and staying faithful to those processes, it's going to depend on that user doing that.
Yes, you're right. Is at the bottom line, keeping the main thing. And attendance is the main thing. I have a dear friend, Shonika Marzalone of We Got Goals. She has this quote. It said, if student achievement is the finish line, then attendance is the start. And that's real. There's not one district or school initiative that can be successful if the students are not in school. So you're right. Having administrators or whoever those users are first thing when they come in the morning to look at that dashboard. What are my numbers looking like? What does the attendance look like? It shifts everything that you do for the rest of the day. Thank you so very much. And Shanah.
Just to piggyback on the ladies, the same thing, we use RaaWee, but I think the biggest thing that I've noticed in doing this for so many years is that site staff, like Maria had stated, is they're so focused on the end of getting to that truancy. And it's changing that mindset of how do we prevent getting to that point, right? We have some kids that show up in SARB and the admin will literally look at me and be like, why are we even here? They haven't missed that much. I have kids that have missed this or that. And we've done all these interventions, right? So it's what can we do to prevent them to getting to this point and starting to be, we need to be there on day one rather than waiting until we have a lot of our sites that don't even start getting into it until after the holiday break, which is the worst time to do it because at that point, the pattern's already set, right? The behavior's already there. So it's preventative. And that's my biggest thing is we need to start in the very beginning and we don't need to say it's not bad now, so we're not going to do anything. There's a pattern starting, and especially like Ms. Woods has stated, the 2-year, I love that, where you have the check-in, check-out because there's already been a pattern in place, which is probably not going to change without an intervention, right? Because it's already ingrained and it's a habit. And just like we try to with a lot of our sites will be like, we're not going to talk to our kindergartners or our TKers. And I'm of the opposite. I'm like, that's the perfect time to do it because let's start with the right mindset of building those good habits. And obviously it's not going to be punitive in any way, but it doesn't mean that can't be a conversation that's had.
Yeah, that's right. As you were saying, I love the fact that more and more states are focused on chronic absenteeism. And those of you on the call, chronic absenteeism is students missing 10% or more of school for any reason. Suspensions, expulsions, unexcused, excused, don't matter. Because missed school is missed instruction. For all these years, a lot of people have been focused on truancy. And as Shanah said, they're sitting there, but the goal is not is to get them to court. The goal is to get them to class. And if we can get them to class on a regular basis, then we all win. All right. The next question. What strategies do you use to help ensure that all staff members understand that attendance is a shared responsibility, that pretty much attendance is everybody's business? Gone are the days where, that you need to talk to the attendance clerk. Or this is that one assistant principal and this is what they focus on attendance. When you have so many students who are choosing not to come to school or there are barriers standing in the way and they just can't, we need the help of everyone. My mom used to always say, many hands make light work. Panelists, how are you getting this message across? And anyone can jump in on this one.
I'll go ahead. I think, like it was stated by one of the other ladies, leadership is key. If leadership is at the district level, our superintendent or associate superintendents are making attendance the priority, and it trickles down to the campuses, I think that's a good starting point. The other thing is that one of the other persons also said that it starts with the teacher. The teacher's the forefront of recognizing when an attendance issue is arising and in always including them in the conversation of the data. When it's data, it's usually the admin team that's looking at it, but those teachers need to be looking at it as well and being involved in those conversations. And like I said, with training, RaaWee has done in the last few years an excellent job of providing training for any user. But when we started 10 years ago, again, we ended up doing our training ourselves to the campuses. And one of the things that came out of that, or that I tried to encourage our campuses to do, is that we make it personal. If this one campus needs one-on-one training for their group, let's get there and let's do it for them, because maybe they don't have time to get on the webinar, or I did create an e-course and maybe haven't had time to do the e-course. They asked for in person, can we come and do it just for our group? Then we're going to go do it just for that group. So making it available readily at any time for them to be able to know how to use the system.
Yeah, I love that because we as educators, we always say the what to do, but we really don't take the time to share how to do it. We assume that educators know how to make a positive phone call home. Maybe we need to include scripts. Maybe we just need to start by sharing how to identify the early signs of disengagement and tardiness and absenteeism before it even becomes an issue. We assume that people know what the signs are. So thank you so much for prioritizing training. Anyone else?
I'll say that oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'll go after you.
I was just going to say for MSPD, I do the same thing. I actually use the month of September and I go out to every single site and do a training for each one individually. It's beyond the training though, and it's more of a discussion of what can we do moving forward and what is that each person's responsibility, right? Because those of us that are in the forefront when they first walk in the school, the clerks or the health office or just the family engagement specialists, it's everybody needs to be included because you are all going to have a hand in it. And it's really, you don't know what you don't know. So I think that's the biggest thing, like Ms. Padilla was saying, is just the training and the tools that are out there and not putting it on somebody else's plate. I think we need to get away from that and then because just sitting in these meetings with these families from day one till the end of the year when they're in mediation, the biggest thing that we're hearing from our students is they don't care. Nobody even knows what my name is. And so that's been the biggest wake up call for me is the relationship that we need to start building with these kids,
Yes.
because if they don't think that anybody cares, then why would they show up? So that's just more engagement from everybody and not just putting everything on admin and higher ups. And it's anybody who walks through, custodians, health clerk, anybody. So
Yeah, that is so true. Thank you.
I spoke a little bit about kind of that beginning of the school year training for teachers on taking attendance. And we have a barriers document that we created that gets shared with staff that really talks about if you hear these things, this is what you need to do. So if you hear that the student is maybe saying some things around having moved or being homeless or a parent working, not that our teachers need to know how to support that, but they need to know then who to tell, whether it's school counselor or family engagement liaison, so we can get support and reach out to that family. We also have been big on relationships. Indiana's a little bit different. I know all states are different, but we don't have, if kids don't come to school, we have a plan that we have to refer to them to the prosecutor's office. But in our county, at least, the prosecutor's office has taken exactly 0 families to court. So really all the onus is on the school district to support, and really coming through the lens of barriers and trying to communicate that to our staff that if a student isn't here, there's probably a reason why, and we need to try to identify that. But if you notice that they're gone and you welcome them back when they come, that hopefully that is going to be a reason why they show up or share what that barrier is. The other thing that we've had to work really hard on is having clean attendance data. We can't do interventions if we don't have the attendance taken and that it's in the system and that it's right. And that goes to the teachers, that goes to the registrars, really making sure that that's being done correctly so we can intervene at appropriate times and with the right kid.
I agree. Thank you. One of the thorns in my side when I was in the district is coding. The coding was incorrect, and that caused my data to be just it was dirty data. It wasn't right. And once we began to pull back the layers, and like I said, teaching people the correct way to put in information and what to look for, it actually caused my attendance rate to increase. But on another thing that you said, that when we talk about strategies and interventions, we're talking about more than just calls and emails and contracts and so forth. It's all about school connectedness. How do we build and maintain those relationships and create an environment where kids want to be rather than where they feel like they have to be each day? Always use the analogy. Think about your favorite restaurant. Think about your favorite store. When you walk in, how do they make you feel? What are the things that they're doing? Like I said earlier, they may even know you by name. They may even smile, or just a variety of different things. So a practice that we did in our previous district is we had what we call the first 2 days. And I know instructional time is coveted and it's tight, but the first 2 days, we did nothing with the curriculum. The whole focus was getting to know one another, doing community building activities, learning the expectations. We was a PBIS district and everything. And I'm telling you right now, it made all the difference because it went from, hey, I'm talking to this student. Hey, who were you talking to earlier? I don't know. It's a kid in a blue hoodie. It's October. You don't know his name? Yeah, no. To, hey, that's Johnny over there. Or, yeah, I love my teacher because she likes to do this outside of school. When you think of interventions, when you think of strategies, when you think of attendance promoting practices, it goes so much deeper than more of the tier 2, tier 3 attendance interventions. All right, this brings us to our final panel question. We're getting closer and closer to the giveaway wheel. All right, Shanah, Allison, Maria, if you could offer advice to, I don't know, a superintendent, to a principal, to an attendance team for the first 30 days of school, what would it be? I want you to kind of think about that. And when you feel compelled, please answer. Because right now, the people join today to get all the advice they can get.
I'm just going to reiterate the relationship. For instance, for the first day of school, we actually are pulling from all of our mediation candidates. We're going to go visit 10 kids per school site, a team of us, obviously, and we're going to welcome them with candy. And it's nothing punitive. We are not discussing any past attendance or anything like that. It's literally just going to be a, hey, how are you? How was your summer break? A conversation. We're going to notify parents before we do it so that there's no shock value there. But it's just building that. And it doesn't need to just be the at risk, but I'm a big component of improvement as well, rewarding improvement beyond just perfect. We're not seeking perfection. It's just again, that relationship building within the 30 days. I think that has a huge impact. And that's where we've seen our most growth is when kids feel that they belong. And I think that goes for adults and staff and everybody in between.
That's very true. Thank you.
Just to even reiterate what Salim was saying earlier when he was talking about just being welcoming. When you think about attendance and the person's responsible for that, they're usually in the front of the office. And our district at one point a couple of years ago gave customer service training to all the people in the front because that's the last thing you want somebody, or at least for me, the last thing I'd want them to walk out of the school thinking they were not very nice to me in the front. I don't know if I want to come back. We want to welcome them. That's established right away. The feeling that they have when they come in, just like you mentioned, going into your favorite store, your restaurant, or things like that. And then from a data point of view, I've tried very hard in my district the last couple of years to really push that last year's chronic report for the campuses to take some time at the beginning when they come back, or if they and they didn't look at it before they left, to really zero in on those kids that we already know that there's a little bit of past to them, and what can we do to maybe start turning things around, encouraging them to focus on that last year's chronic report.
Okay.
I wrote down be urgent early and attendance everyone's job. I wrote that down actually before we got in here, so I'm glad that I was on point with what we were talking about. The other thing I think that it's helpful, that one of the biggest things that we've seen as a success is attendance challenges or competitions in buildings, whether it be between grade levels, between classes, sometimes between schools. That competition and group contingency motivation helps, especially in months that it's hard. And so getting schools here before school starts, part of what we ask all of our schools to do in their year planning is plan those out for the year. So know what their attendance challenge is for every month. So then when you get into November and you get into February and you're not thinking about attendance, you already have those things on the books and ready to go so you don't lose track of them when other things get busy.
Yeah, that is so true. We want to celebrate what we want to replicate, for real. And competitions, they work. I used to have this huge poster maker. And as you said, Allison, I used to break it up by grade level. For instance, I was working with this elementary campus and they had pre-K, kindergarten, all the way to fifth. And we had these little dials. You know how if it's a fundraiser, you shade it up if you're at your goal. It was 100%. So if a grade level had, I don't know, 90% or 88% or 96%, they were able to see visually the whole school, which grade levels had the highest attendance and those who didn't. And at the end of the week, there was a group level, competition, reward, or so forth. Just want to let you know what we were seeing over and over again. On the elementary level, some of the lowest attendance was pre-K and kindergarten. And because they were able to see that data, and because they were able to pull the reports and able to see bi-weekly, or weekly, what the attendance rates were, they were able to, it was easier for them to recognize different students, different grade levels, different classes or whatever for this. So thank you guys so much.
Amelia Ortega had a comment, said the ice cream social is the most cost-effective incentive work for advisory or grade level competitions.
We don't even do that. We don't have money. We only do free things for attendance. So you get to wear a sweatshirt, you get to sit where you want in the cafeteria, you get to have extra recess, you get to wear pajamas to school. The younger grades like to do things like that. So we've really tried to go even more cost effective to free.
And we have FOMO days. Those are a big deal in our district, and the kids never want to miss them. And that can be something like a DJ shows up at lunchtime, but they never know what it's going to be. So,
I love FOMO days.
Yes, those are a big hit. So we're going to continue those.
And then here's another thing, front of the line, lunch line pass or something like that. Those are also for our kids who really may need some little more incentive to do what they're supposed to. Front of the line pass. If they can eat lunch first, oh my God, especially on the middle school level. All right. Thank you guys so very much. I know that Celine did a fabulous job of sharing a lot of the things tools that you can utilize within the program to help make your 30 days not just so much more efficient, but also so much more effective. As I put in the chat, I'm coming to you from Texas. These schools are huge. So if you have 400 kids that you need to get a letter to or email to or a text to within that day, and we know that same day communication is the best communication, you're able to do that. So if you're interested in a demo or would love to learn more, continue this conversation, please use this QR code and complete it, and we'll reach out to you and be able to give you a district or campus specific to be able to tend to your needs and your questions. Again, thank you guys so very much. I'm Sharon Bradley, Randy Graham. We would love to continue to be your thought partners. You, like I said, continue the conversation. Would love to see more. Please schedule a time or just fill out the form and we can follow up with you in order to do that, to let you know what's next. And you can also see all of these wonderful resources and more. We have case studies, we have videos, we have quick wins for attendance that you can share with. We talked about building capacity. We already have that for you that you can forward on to your team members in order to do the work. So thank you.